Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to a very strange and confused and just, really interesting Falcons vs. Bucs NFL Week 7 postgame show. Your host, Kevin. I have Falcoholic Kevin. As we get into a game that is one of the ugliest I personally have witnessed. Definitely the ugliest win. I've seen uglier Falcons losses, certainly, but I don't think I've seen an uglier Falcons win than this in recent memory, Alan.
I think there's one, but it's not recent memory. Do you remember when Matt Ryan got picked? I don't think he got picked.
No,
picked up,
it was like five. Yeah, it was like 5 times, and they still won.
There's a couple of them reflected.
Yeah,
but
that was the last one. Yeah,
really bad Cardinals team, but they won. I think like 19-16 or 23-19. It was ugly. Yeah, but the reason why I don't think it was as ugly as that is because I thought the team played actually really well. It's just catastrophic mistakes at the worst period of time, and
Once again, we're talking about that. Yeah. So
guys, but nevertheless, I'm actually kind of happy, which I think we kind of should be because the team is currently in first place. Nevertheless, we have a lot to digest, folks.
Yeah.
I'm proudly wearing the jersey of a man who's making his 2023 debut tonight. Let's go, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly. But we're talking about nevertheless, happy to be here.
Yes. We've also got with us Jordan Watkins. He's at Big 75. Fella, Jordan, I know you're very conflicted about this game as well.
Y'all remember back last year, and obviously the expectations this year are much higher than they were last year. We're playing Carolina in Atlanta, and we have Rashaan Evans trying to guard DJ Moore going down the field. They get the touchdown. Then this excessive celebration penalty, unsportsmanlike conduct, so that pushes the extra point back. They get they miss the extra point. We go to overtime. We get the interception. They miss a field goal in overtime. We go down, win the game. Where it's just like, okay, cool. We're in first place, but oh my goodness, what in the world is going on? It's just crazy that now these last 2 years, the game that has gotten the Falcons in first place, it's just unfathomable how we got there. I mean, again, when I look at this game overall, it should have been a 30-10 Falcons win. I could say even more, if you want to get a touchdown before halftime, but I'm playing it conservative there, right, with what happened. And I know we'll get into it more, but that could have been a 30-10 Falcons win easily.
Oh, yeah, it should have been. I mean, even like I tweeted it out. It's like, if they just kicked field goals every time they got into Koo's range, they'd been winning this game by multiple scores easily. Like, that's how bad the mistakes were. And we're going to dive into that. Before I get off track, because I know we're about to go into a serious thing, I'm going to go ahead and get you guys our ad from our sponsor this week, betonline.ag, folks. betonline.ag is, of course, your source. I got some new copy, so I'm riffing here a little bit while I find the new copy. But yes, I can't believe it's about baseball, as we have a Texas showdown in the postseason, and BetOnline is your number one source for all your MLB wagering info with up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. You can also get the latest odds, game odds, spreads, and totals for the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. They've got everything you need to stay up to speed on each LCS all the way through to the World Series, and of course with football all the way through the Super Bowl and the college football playoff. So make sure to head to that website today, betonline.ag, or use your mobile device to get in on the action. And don't forget to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And then we had a pre-show donation. Someone came in very hot. Adrian Russ, what's up, Adrian? He says, I'm only 23 and I don't think my heart can take much more of this. Also, this may be a little obvious, but despite the mistakes, Ridder has been looking better and better each week since the Texans. At least the passing game has opened up a bit more. Is Bijan okay? The Bijan situation we'll get to. I mean, we don't know any details other than that he was sick. And I think that's really the only explanation that makes sense, because apparently he was feeling good enough in warm-ups to work, so he must have. I don't know what the hell to tell you about that. I don't think we're going to get a straight answer.
He was up for the final drive too, apparently, which made no sense.
I agree.
What noodle soup did he have? Like, what was the medicine? Like,
I don't know if this was like the Lamar Jackson poop game or something. Like, I don't know.
Somebody needs to check if the same pizza delivery man in Salt Lake City for a certain NBA Finals game was in Tampa Bay last night.
I think there was some kind of Saints voodoo on this one. Thankfully, it almost worked, but we did escape that one. But yeah, No, Adrian, like before we dive into Ridder's mistakes in this one, which were egregious, especially you guys know the one that I was very upset about, that I think we're all very upset about, that he deserves a full segment on that one. But his passing has gotten better. No, full stop. Like as a passer, he has gotten better. The passing game is functional. It's working. That last drive, great job. Like he deserves credit for the good plays. And he also deserves blame for probably costing the team this game, or should have cost the team this game. So maybe we should start with the fumbles. And Jordan, I know you had something to say about the second fumble in Drew Dalman, because Drew Dalman's been taking a lot of flack, and rightfully so in some cases, but I know you were able to get a better look at that particular fumble, and I know you had some takes on that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, I knew this was going to be a tough game for Drew up front. I'm not saying tough as that he'd be bad. It's just a tough matchup. Vita Vea is one of the best noses in the league. So that was that. But, when I first watched it, I never, especially on a center quarterback exchange, I can't blame somebody right away for what it is. So I was like, let me see an angle for what's going on. And again, depending on who you are on social media, there's that one person that you're going to blame right away, whether it's Desmond Ridder or it's going to be Drew Dalman. Like that's just how that's split up. But no, it was a good snap, and Desmond just messed up. Apparently someone in the chat, again, shout out the chat, was talking about that Desmond owned up for it too, that that was on him, that he just pulled out from underneath center too quickly. And I also think at the same time too, if you're going to criticize Drew Dalman for the fumble, which again wasn't his fault, you better be quick to praise him as well for the 156 rushing yards the Falcons have, or at least a majority of them, because he might not be the strongest guy at all time, but when he isn't, I think he's getting better at learning how to position himself to still open up lanes or cut back lanes. Okay. So, I think overall, the recipe for the Falcons offense of how we want it to look like, this was the game. You're right around 250 throwing the ball. You're right around 150, maybe a little under, depending on the game, running the ball. And that's a tough run defense they went against today too. But don't get it twisted.
Elite.
So that is literally the recipe. But the thing that's so frustrating, even though you won, is the two places that I think most people have had issues or concerns with about this team so far: your play caller and your quarterback with certain turnovers in certain situations. And they popped their ugly head up again today.
Yeah, just so frustrating. And like I thought, without Bijan Robinson, I think we were all wondering, like, okay, is this offense just going to fall to pieces without Bijan Robinson? And they didn't. Like, to their credit, Cordarrelle Patterson, I think, is finally healthy for the first time this year.
Yeah, and
he looked like old Cordarrelle Patterson, like not old, like old man Cordarrelle Patterson, like the Cordarrelle Patterson of yesteryear. And that's huge for this team because they needed it. Like, they really needed him today, with Bijan apparently not feeling well enough to play, or not well enough to carry the ball at least. So I want to give the run game credit because it did finally start to work today after not really working at all. And they did it against the toughest run defense they've played since Jacksonville. So they do deserve a big props for that, the offense. But it's just, man, like, really, we just have to get on Ridder because, like, I think the problems with the offense today were Ridder. And, like, to Ridder's credit, he drove them down the field and got them that field goal at the end of the game to win this one. But, like, that shouldn't have even been necessary. They should have been winning this game by 10 points, 20 points, easily. Like, even if they just kicked the field goals, they would have been winning this game by 12 points at the end of this game. So, man, like, the first one, it's like, okay, that was the first one. That was the offensive line. Like, the offensive line got crushed. Yes. He didn't really have anywhere to go. He tried to get that ball out, and it was just, that was not his fault. The second one,
but you know where else? You know where else it comes in? Like, you're 100% right about the offensive line on that individual play.
Yeah.
Here's where I got frustrated though. First off, what play did we call right beforehand? You
just
like
if
Bijan can't go with what we're talking about, you try to send him out to the flat on some window dressing, and then you throw a screen to Keith Smith.
Yeah, and Bijan was wide open.
but it's the thing, he was wide open, but he was never the intended receiver on that play. So my thing is, okay, right there, second down, your play didn't work. Then on third down, you spread everybody out. Shaq Barrett's on one side. You have a rookie guard on the other side. And again, I love Matthew Bergeron. I think he's going to be a great pro. But you put those two guys on islands with timing routes all around the field. Just look, your second down play, you thought you were going to have the we got him here kind of play. You didn't have him. Run the ball, take the points, go for the 2-for-1 out of the half, and you're good. But no, you didn't do that. And so that's why, again, as much as that play individual was on the offensive line, yes, it was. That whole sequence of why it didn't work is on the play caller.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like the Keith Smith, like shovel. I don't even know what the hell that was. I'm not.
Of all the players, like they love featuring Jonnu Smith so much. Like that's a classic Jonnu Smith screen.
Yeah.
They ran
the
that
secret weapon. Yeah.
And like he makes plays after the catch. Like even though I think Tampa Bay did a good job defending it, it's still like Keith Smith really.
It's just weird, man. Just weird stuff there. That whole series was doomed. Like they just screwed that whole series up from the beginning with the play calling. And then the second one, like. Again, like what Jordan was saying, Ridder under center, you got to get that snap. That's not Dahlman's fault in that scenario. That's Ridder's fault. So you got to handle that snap better and get that play off, and at least just not turn the ball over. Like even if you don't get the touchdown, just get the field goal. It's completely, So
you're at the 1 yard line. You better score a touchdown.
I mean, for God's sake, I hope so. But like, geez, at this point, I'll just take field goals. Like literally, if they just kick field goals, they win games. So.
Drake London didn't flip in the air and do everything possible to not score a touchdown there, which, oh, man, that would have been dicey. That's a classic Bill Belichick is benching you for 2 series type of move by Drake London there.
Exactly.
But,
the biggest one for me is the one that everyone's going to focus on, which is Ridder's rushing touchdown. Should have been a rushing touchdown. He has all the space. He's out there. If he just, like, puts on 80% of the gas, 90% of the gas, he's in easily. But he lets up and just casually strolls into the end zone. And guess what? It's a touchback. And that is, I just don't know what the hell you're thinking. Like, this is the NFL. Like, why do you think you can get away with something like that? Like, why are you showboating? Like, why are you relaxing? Like, you fumbled the ball twice in this game.
And you had 3 turnovers last week. Like, how do you have arrogance there against a battle-tested defense, a defense that still has a decent amount of players from their Super Bowl winning team? Antoine Winfield's one of the top playmakers in the league. You know he flies around the ball. We know how Levante David is, Devin White. Like, these guys fly the ball. Like, no urgency. It's baffling because Desmond Ridder should be very thankful Arthur Smith knows how to create these read options in the red zone because Tannehill scored on about 4 or 5 of these during their time in Tennessee. Like the timing, the execution, like everything was well aligned there. And for Ridder just take the gas off the pedal there and just be complacent. It's one of the most catastrophic, unacceptable mistakes I think I've ever seen from a Falcons player. This is up there with D'Angelo Hall not banging the ball down that Hail Mary. This is I don't know.
It's gonna be a lot of feelings. This is like
we could go on and on about the Falcons miscues in the past history.
Harry Douglas turf monster in the NFC
Championship game.
Like
Harry Douglas turf monster
one against his knee against the Eagles in the NFC in the playoffs.
Keanu knee punt.
I think that was more fluky, man. I think
that was more fluky, but
like still, I don't think like it was a bad play, but
it's the same thing you say to receivers, and I get it. You can say, well, there's a reason why he's a DB. Don't jump in the air when you don't have to. Just catch the ball, and we would have been fine. But
these
again, I'll say this
times, man.
Yeah, crucial. Yeah,
exactly. And here's the thing for me: I had a strength coach, when we were at Stanford. And he always used to say this when we were doing conditioning. And I'm sure if anyone else has played sports at a high level, you've heard a coach say this too. You don't run to the line. You run through the line.
Yep.
Exactly for reasons like that. Like, look, give Antoine Winfield credit. I want to say maybe he's from the Atlanta area. I believe so. Like, of course, he wants to make a play. He didn't give up on it. You give him credit. I mean, I said this when it happened. At the end of the day, one player quit on the play, the other didn't.
Yeah.
Until you're across the end zone. And I mean, we see this in so many different fashions, in so many different ways, right? We've seen Deshaun Jackson do it so many times. I know this is going to anger some Georgia fans if you're out there. We saw Tyrann Mathieu do it in an SEC championship on a punt return against Georgia. It didn't get called, but he flipped the ball to the referee when he was at the 1 yard line. He didn't score. You see all the time, all these people that don't go across the goal line, and they pay for it. Even Falcons fans. You remember when Cam Newton got popped? I believe it was a 2-point conversion.
Great call.
It didn't go all the way through. You set yourself up for things like that.
Yes.
Just run all the way through the goal line. I don't care about your style points. I mean, you even saw on the replay a couple of things there. Balls in the inside hand. That's a no-no. And then again, usually when you're crossing the goal line and you're over there by the corner, your eyes are inside. You got to make sure there's nobody right there to make the play. Desmond Ridder's eyes were ahead of him.
Yeah, he didn't even care. Yeah,
and Raymond James, if you've never been there before, the video board, it's right in the center of both the end zones. So if he's looking up, he's not looking at anything important, right? He would still have to look somewhat inside to see somebody coming his way. And he wasn't doing that. So just finish the play, man. You had a great drive. I know you didn't throw the ball that much on that drive, but that was one of those gotta have it Cleveland Browns kind of drives from last year. I know a lot of people are questioning you. I don't want to speak for the defense right now, but I do know when defenses get frustrated when they have certain games and the offense can't put points on the board to back that up. So there's your chance to have that drive when you gotta have it. You had it, and because you didn't finish the play out, that's where the defense has to come out there and try to save the day.
Yeah, that should have cost you the game. Like, and like to me, that's a benchable play. Like that, maybe not permanently, but like, man, it just looks bad on so many levels. Yeah, and it's just like, man, you can't do that. This team is 3-3, and this is a critical division game, and you're celebrating when we're tied, like running into the end zone like you're some kind of badass. No, you're an asshole. You know, what would Keith Armstrong say? You're not good enough to be an asshole. Don't be an asshole with the football. Like, hold that fucking ball and get it into the end zone. Like, this is not a joke. Like, you're on thin ice. Like the fan base, half the fan base already hates you, Ridder. Like, they genuinely dislike you, which I don't think is fair, and I don't think that's cool. But like, you're on thin ice, man.
Like, how are you arrogant? You've had one really good game this whole season, the Houston game. You're coming off this inexplicable performance against the Commanders. Like, it's frustrating. And you know what hurts? Like, Ridder, we were talking about before, as a passer, I thought played fairly well. There was only maybe 2 bad throws. Could have got picked off by Levante David after he was staring down Pitts, and he missed London on. It should have been a back shoulder throw. He put it to forward towards London, gave the DB an easy play to make on the ball. But besides that, missing a touchdown, maybe getting picked off once, but otherwise, I thought Ridder was in rhythm, and he made some gutsy plays. Like, that throw
as a passer, yes, like he's getting better. Like, that's the thing. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back every week. It's like some new goddamn disaster happens on the field every week, even though we're making progress. It's like that shit has to stop. Like,
but the biggest issue is, like, the progress that's being made is not big enough to outlast the catastrophic mistakes. Like, Ridder's not throwing touchdowns right now. He's playing fairly well as a passer, but the turnovers, it's just you're single-handedly crushing the team. Because, man, we're going to talk about the defense, and we're going to have a fantastic time talking about this defense. And the skill position players make things happen. How about Scotty Miller?
Perfect the Scotty Miller bomb. Revenge game. Yeah. I never referenced that all week. That was just there all week, and I just can't believe it. I never touched it.
To be fair, they brought in Van Jefferson to be the deep threat that Scotty Miller was not, and Scotty Miller said, hey, I'm still here. So I'm going to show out for at least one play. But I think that's like the frustrating thing about Ridder. It's just this offense is moving the ball. It's coming together. Pass protection-wise, I thought they held up really nicely against a very good Tampa front, other than a few bad moments.
That first fumble was bad. Yeah, that one was bad.
Yeah, I like compared to like games against Detroit and Jacksonville, and even opening week against Carolina. Like, this offense line is starting to make some serious progress from a pass protection standpoint. So like, this game really just falls on Ridder. Like, I hate to beat like a dead horse, but it's just, you can't be this immature and this arrogant. It's just, like, this team is good. But this team needs to win this division.
They should be. They should be winning this. They should have dominated this game. Like, if anyone was questioning whether the Bucs were like actually a secretly like spicy team, this game should tell you the Bucs are not good. Like, this Bucs team is not good. Like, they are not. Like,
I think they could beat. I don't know about them not being not good. I think
they're not good, Alan. They're not good. Like,
I feel like they have enough stars though. Like, we don't got to get started, but like guys like Evans, Godwin, Whitfield Jr., Vea, like they got enough guys who are just like, all right, they can compete.
I mean,
I don't think
they can't beat the Falcons when they turn it over 3 times at the 1 at home. I mean,
they got Baker Mayfield and less than one thing.
I'm just saying.
I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, their defense is good.
And this is what makes everyone want to scratch their head and just pull their hair out about the Falcons this year. I think 2 things can be true. Could Tampa still end up being a solid team? Yes, they could.
Yeah.
Should the Falcons
solid
be
is
a
reasonable.
Much better team?
Yeah.
Should the Falcons be a much better team than what they are right now? That's the biggest part about all of this, right? Like, I think that's the thing where it's so hard to to say certain things about other teams just because of what we do and how we shoot ourselves in the foot. We can say what we want about Jacksonville, and I get it. They just beat the Saints. We shot ourselves in the foot in that London game. We can say what we want to about Detroit. We shot ourselves in the foot in that game too. That's what makes it so hard right now.
Game. Yeah, like that's the thing. You're so right.
That's what makes it so hard right now. One, for me to say, oh, this is a good team, this is a good team, just because of what we do or don't do against them.
Yeah.
The Commanders beat us. I'm not going to say the Commanders are a good team. But at the same time, if I have to keep going back to this, I guess that's the truth about what the Falcons are in terms of a good team or not.
Yeah.
And I told both of y'all, before we came on live, they remind me, not record-wise, not talent-wise, how they play, just in terms of you look at the record and, oh, my goodness, like, so many of your games can go one way or the other, but you're first in your division, so people might, they look at it one way or another. You remember what everyone was saying about the Minnesota Vikings last year?
Yeah. That
don't believe the record and what it says. It doesn't tell the whole story. Right now, and I know this is foreshadowing because we just finished our 7th game. It's just like whether it's for you want the record to be better or you want the record to be worse. The story of what the Falcons do and how they play football is not in the record right now. And I still think they play better football overall than what their record shows. But the record is what it is. I thought last year the Vikings played worse football than what their record showed. And that's why they lost when they did to the Giants in the postseason.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first ever team to have a negative point differential with 13 wins. I that should not be possible, but it's because they got blown out in all their losses. But yeah, I mean, this is a frustrating team. Like, I mean, there's no question about it, but it's like, I wish we had gotten this stuff out of our system last year. Like, and we weren't pretending that Marcus Mariota could get us to the playoffs. So we just put Ridder in and let him learn this type of stuff. Like, honestly, like, I don't think Ridder's going to make this mistake again with this running into the end zone. Like, this is the type of thing that is forever plastered in your mind. And like, if he had lost this game, that could be one of the story points of his career, where he fumbles this ball going in the end zone, the Falcons lose to the Bucs, and then they end up missing the playoffs because of that stupid shit. Like, thankfully that doesn't happen, but like, he better not forget this. That better be the last we hear of this type of idiocy from Ridder. And like, he's a young quarterback. Like, you're going to make mistakes. But it's like, I would have rather they'd done this last year. We can't go back and change that, but it's like, we're dicking around with this offense finding its footing when they could be 4 games ahead of where they are now offensively if they hadn't been so stupid with how they handled quarterback last year. But I mean, there's no point in complaining about that now. Like, it's just,
let's not prone the past.
It's just there's nothing we can do about that. But I think that was a huge mistake, and I think we're all in agreement on that. But the past is the past, and like, I do want to, before we go to the defense, like, the offense is like, in terms of like moving the ball, so much better than weeks 3 and 4. Like, they're light years ahead. Like, this offense is functional now. It's getting into the red zone a lot. They had like 6 red zone trips in this game. They just screwed it up over and over and over again. 3 times inside the 10. They choked the ball away. And it's like, obviously you can't have that, but it's better than not getting down there in the first place, because at least you're moving the ball. So they got to stop this. Like, this is the part of your schedule now where you need to start banking some wins against these teams, like the Tennessee Titans, Arizona Cardinals. Like, you've got the Vikings. Like, you've got a chance to even though you've played the most inconsistent football of probably any, not on defense, the defense is absolved. You've played the most inconsistent offensive football of probably any team in the NFL through 7 games. And you could win your next 3 games and go into the bye with one of probably the best records in the NFC, not counting like San Francisco or Philadelphia. Like, that is not out of the question, but like, can we trust this team to do that? Is it even possible for them to stop screwing up? Like, it seems like it's in their blood at this point with how many ways they're finding to screw things up on a week-to-week basis.
No, you're 100% right. And I just want to point this out. Shout out to Mike Conti. He's the one that posted this. So Falcons today in the red zone were 1 for 5, right? Usually if you're 1 for 5 at scoring in the red zone, you're going to lose games. But if you want to go back to last week, they're now 1 for 6. Here are those plays: interception, touchdown, field goal, fumble, fumble, fumble.
Yep.
That's losing football. Yeah. We can talk about how well they're moving the ball all we want, and you're 100% correct. They're at 6.3 yards per play today. You can work with that and live with that. But if you can't get it done in the red zone, you have problems. And again, I'm not putting all of this on Arthur Smith because it wasn't. Like, again, the two fumbles today were on Desmond Ridder. The first fumble was on Arthur Smith, the one right before halftime, where I said, "Hey, look, let's get 2 for 1," and you're looking golden. But it's just so frustrating, and I'm not going to do like it's 50% here, 50% there thing on this. I'm not. I'm just saying that the two main culprits that we can point to of why we don't do certain things in the red zone, again, are the two people that have the most influence on your offense.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Yep, and like we just gotta hope that this stuff with Ritter's in the past, because like if he could eliminate these turnovers, like he's not that far off from being like this guy's interesting. Like, the passing is starting to work. He's showing some rushing ability. He should have had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. Like, he's not that far off from like being like, maybe we should be like, if he had not just screwed the pooch this game with these turnovers, like, people are probably feeling pretty good about Ridder coming out of this. Like, oh, he's starting to show some stuff. And like, instead we have to talk about the fumbles, the turnovers again. But like, man, like you're fighting for your NFL future. Like, if you screw this season up and you don't prove it, you're probably not getting another NFL chance to start again. Like, you're a 3rd round pick from Cincinnati, who's running out to give you a starting job if you don't prove it this year. So, and with that, look, I do want to give Des some credit for this. I do. Yes.
I think someone highlighted before, he already has 3 game-winning drives this year.
Yes.
And even in this game, you saw it once. I think we got the Richie Grant interception, 3 straight run plays. It almost felt like Arthur Smith's like, look, I'm not putting this in your hands to determine how this game's going to go. That's what it felt like. I was actually shocked or concerned when we got the Onyemata sack on the last offensive drive. I sat there, I was like, let me see if he uses this timeout here. Like, I'm screaming from my living room, right? Timeout. But if he didn't call a timeout there, I think that was going to be really telling. Obviously, he did. That first throw to Kyle Pitts should have been there, should have been a completion. But then that next throw, you got to have it. He makes the play. Like, I will give this dude credit. For whatever mistakes he makes, misses he has this ability, and I do think it's important to turn around and make something happen when you got to have it. So I do want to give him that credit. I know there's the interception at the end of the Commanders game, but still, like, I if I'm going to be critical of him, I do want to praise him for that regard in this game too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They
like,
had
go ahead, Alan.
Yeah. 3 timeouts. Like, if Smith didn't use one of those timeouts, that's just malpractice. Like, you have 3 timeouts. What are you saving it for? You might as well.
I agree.
Take the opportunity. So, like, when Onyemata got that sack, I'm just like, all right, look, you still could steal.
You
got
to take
like,
that. Yeah.
It's like, to me, I don't care how bad your quarterback's playing. Like, the throwaway timeouts like that after the defense response once again, it's just like, come on, but good on.
Yeah, no, I mean, no, you're. And he deserves credit for what he did to win this game too. Like, we're not just here to bash Ridder or to just praise Ridder. Like, we gave you the bad, and the good is there. Like, he's coming along as a passer. He's reading the field better. He did have that one turnover-worthy throw that Levante David almost got his hands on. Didn't end up happening. And like, that's going to happen to all quarterbacks. All quarterbacks are going to put the ball in harm's way sometimes. You just can't do it frequently. And like, I thought he ran well in this game. He easily had that rushing touchdown. Like, he just pulled up, and we're not gonna belabor that anymore. But like, you can see the rushing ability. He's clearly got speed. Like, he's got speed. He's learning better about when to just tuck and run and use that speed to pick up yardage and not get stuck in 3rd and longs with all these incompletions. And like, you've seen it. He's got big boy ability at the end of the game. He's clutch, like he is. He typically is. Other than that Washington game, which, look, I thought he was going to pull it off. I was like, oh, 4th quarter game-winning drive Ridder. He's been really good. I think he's going to pull this off. Probably should have pulled it off, but he doesn't, and it bites the team and they lose. But like, he has done it. And as frustrating as this team has been in the 4th quarter for years, finally, this is a team that's winning the 4th quarter and winning it hard. Like, they are dominating the 4th quarter, and that is typically a trait that you see from teams that outperform, because they when they have to have it, they get it done. Now, obviously, it's nice if you can get it done, other times too, and not just desperately at the end of a game. But like, it's nice to see this team play their best ball when the game is on the line. And Ritter's part of that too. Like, to his credit, he is done what he needs to do on game-winning drives multiple times this season as a rookie quarterback. I believe he's leading the league in game-winning drives at this point or something like that. So, or something like that. Like, it's close. Now, that also means that you're never winning, like, to have the game-winning drive, that means you have to be behind or tied. But so, that's part of it too. But he's clearly got something. Like, he's got the mojo, he's got the moxie, whatever it is, he's got it. But, like, now he just needs to lose it with the turnovers, and then we're all good. So
he had a 19-yard run where it was a bad snap from Dahlman. He called on his left, and just the decisiveness where he just read where the running lane was and just took it. And I think that's just want to see, like, he's playing with more conviction, which he didn't see against Jacksonville or Detroit. And I think that's, like, one of the more positive things.
Yes.
I want to highlight 3 offensive players. So we talk a lot about Ridder, but I think Tyler Algier deserves a lot of praise for his game. Not the most efficient game, but just some hard running, couple of nice cutbacks on those counters worked really nicely. I thought Caleb McGarry made a huge impact in the running game. Him and Dahlman had some nice moments because there was, I think, there was what could have been the 93-yard scoring drive, which ultimately turned out to be the fumble. But they went down the field, and outside of the impressive out-structured play that Ridder made to Algier, I think they were running the ball really effectively. And Kyle Pitts, not his best statistical game, but he's still, now you're seeing reestablish himself as like one of the primary players in the passing game. Like, he's no more of an afterthought. He's not someone where he's looking like he's lost. Like, no, he is now finally being featured, whether it's on, drags or just on crosses. But like that last play, it was just great to see. And we gotta say this, like, I thought it was a 6-yard catch, but it turned out to be only 3 yards. He's got the greatest 3-yard catch in NFL history. Like, that catch,
that's amazing. Yeah.
That's a just waiting to happen. I'm looking forward to finding that. But man, what an absurd catch! And it's just, like I said, wasn't his best statistical game, but you could tell Kyle Pitts, like, he's finally like back in the offense where we're not concerned. We don't have to hear about ridiculous trade rumors or, oh, this guy's a bust. Like, okay, his stats might not be up there with the best tight ends, but he's clearly hugely influential in this offense. And, it's cool to see him and John both mixing and matching. Like, John Smith, once again, another solid game. So, Falcons offense overall, man, I know, look, we're going to harp on Ridder, and understandably so, but there was a lot of encouraging things to come out of this one.
And it's like, what's most frustrating about it, and then I got to take a break to get to some of these donations because I know you guys have a lot of questions. We want to make sure we get to those too.
And defense.
Yeah. And the defense. They deserve a lot of props. For unlike last year, and the reason I feel a lot better about this team, the reason I felt better about this team going into this week is, like, unlike last year, like, they do have the talent. Like, they do have the talent on both sides of the ball that we should expect them to be better. Like, last year, it was like, wow, they've won 7 games. I am shocked because of how little talent they have, especially on the defensive side of the football. This year, it's not like that. Like, they do have the talent. They should be better. And they can get better. This is not a situation where it's like, oh, well, we just don't have the horses to win. Like, we don't have the horses on offense. We don't have the horses on defense. We can't compete with the better teams in the NFL. This year, it's not the case. Like, it is, they literally do have the pieces. It's just them holding them back. And as frustrating as that is to watch, and it's incredibly frustrating, at least when you're just being out-talented, you're like, well, they're just better than us, and there's something we can do. When it's your fault, you get pissed, you get angry, but you can fix it. Like, you can fix these problems. You can't fix a lack of talent. So that's the one thing we can hang our head on with the offense is they're fixing things a little bit at a time. The run game woke up again today. That was something we harped on last week and over the last couple weeks. And look, they can fix this. Like, they can, and they have to if they want to be taken seriously. But yeah, it's a different experience to see this team actually be talented and to be held back by mistakes, because I think for a long time we were seeing this team under Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot working with this disastrous roster left to them by Dimitroff and Quinn, being kept around too long. I'm not going to bring up ancient history here, but like, they finally have the roster to compete, and this is competing. I guess technically they're 4-3. They're first place in the division, so I guess it's technically competing. It's ugly as hell, but like, this shouldn't be what we expect. Like, we should expect a lot more, and I think it's not unrealistic to think that they can get there. But like, how quickly they get there will determine a lot about where this team is going to be when the dust clears on this season. All right, let me get to some of these donations. Thanks, guys, so much for that. Ray Moon with the $2. How bad is Dahlman? I don't think he's that bad. Now, the snapping, we got to get that cleaned up. But that one fumble in this game, as Jordan said, I agree with him. I don't think that's his fault. We got Just a Knight with the $5. Another dub. Indeed, my knight compatriot, Just a Knight here. And I respect Ridder for having the biggest balls on planet Earth on that last drive, even after the terrible fumble that should have cost him the game. Yeah, I mean, again, like, it takes a lot to shake that off and come back out and win the football game. That's what he did. So at least he did that. Like, I'm not going to ding him twice. Like, Ridder, you did the right thing. You came back and you won the game. Let's just cut down on the crap. Okay, that's all. We got George Costanza with the $3. He says, this team is so... I don't even know how to describe it. I am a Ridder hater, but you can't blame him for the fumble before the half when Bergeron didn't even block. Ridder with that throw to Pitts to put us in field goal range at the end of the game. Just throw to Pitts. Yeah, I mean, good things seem to happen. And Pitts is finally starting to get healthy, it seems like. Like, he's not 100% yet, but he's getting closer. And he's starting to... I think you can see the confidence is coming back to him. And that's beautiful to see. Same thing with Cordell Patterson. Finally looks healthy. And then we got Falcon Fan 323. What's up, man? Or woman? Don't know. Fan, whatever. With the $5. Thank you. There are women that like football. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate you. All you guys. Non-binary, whatever. We appreciate everybody. All Falcons fans. With the $5. I think this is the best defense the Falcons have had since I started being a fan in 2007. I think you're right. I think this is better than 2017's defense. We'll see if it continues, but what do you guys think?
That's 2012. Yeah. We might have to consider 2012 in this too.
I think statistically 2012's was like not that great, but they played really well in clutch moments. So they were good. Like 2012 was one of the only good defenses of the Matt Ryan era. So I don't want to harsh them. Like, they deserve their credit, but
when you can up Drew Brees 5 times in a game, your levels go up like 15%.
Yeah, that earns you a lot.
Can we just, when we make that comparison to talking about defenses, we have to look at the offenses that are there too, because that's such a big part of this. Like, this defense, and again, I don't know all the numbers for some of the most recent defenses for the Falcons off the top of my head, right? We talk about 2012, 2017, but we do know off the top of our head how many times that this defense has to bail out, whether it's turnovers, 3-and-outs, short fields, you name it, for this offense. So, I mean, it's a good question. It's a good debate topic.
I think so. And yeah, I mean, obviously we only have half a season here, but yeah, I mean, I think they have a claim, certainly, to being the best decade of the last 10, the best defense of the last decade, I should say. And we'll see how it plays out. But yes, it's even more impressive given how often the offense turns the ball over. Like last week, holding the Commanders to that score despite all the turnovers is just really impressive. This week, even better, despite all the turnovers. Like, they deserve so much props for that. Like, they are quite literally willing this team to victory. They're like dragging the offense along. Like, no, you're gonna score another field goal. We're gonna get out of here with the dub. Like, you just get your ass into the end zone. Let's go. Like, they're just like pulling them along. But sometimes you need that. Like, sometimes one part of your team is struggling, the other has to lift them up. And sooner or later, the Falcons offense is going to have to return the favor, and hopefully they will be able to do that. We got Jonathan Moxley with the $2. What's up, Jonathan? He says, Falcons win despite their best efforts to lose. Yeah. It's ugly as hell, but look, it could be a loss. So like, we take it. Like, but we're here to break down the game. Like, yes, we're happy they won. I know. Like, we are happy. Like, so everyone, just in case there was any question about that, we are happy they won. Yes. And like, it's a division game. They're always wacky, whatever. But we're here to critique and to analyze. And like, it was an ugly ass game. So like, but I think most of the negativity is probably done because we're about to move to the defense. But
and Kevin, I'm shocked you didn't mention, since you're the home road guy, this is Desmond Ridder's first ever
career road win. Streak. We broke both the streaks in 7 days.
Impossible, but hey, you did it.
Look, you got to get that demon off your back or whatever. So good for him to break it. It was hella ugly, but we got the dub. And division games, especially a road division game like this, you just take that dub. Like, you need it. And this like, we haven't even gotten into the implications of this game yet because we needed to get to the negatives, but we're gonna get to the positives, guys. So stick with us here. We got Moonstar with the $5. What's up, Moonstar? says Bijan had the runs, just not on the field.
Oh.
Oh God. Yeah. I was hoping this would be like the Lamar poop game where he like comes back and just it lights up the scoreboard, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But yeah, hopefully he's okay.
All right.
Yeah. Hopefully he's okay. We got Diego Simon for the first time. What's up, Diego? With the PEN $20. I don't know what type of currency that is. Diego, if you're still here, let me know. I've never seen that before. But thank you. However much that is, I'm not entirely sure. He says, Ridder played well. It's very bad luck on a short negative variance, and I'll give credit to Arthur Smith. I think he's been calling better games overall. And, of course, credit to Terry Fontenot. He's given us a great defense after just one free agency period with cap space. Yeah, can't disagree with you there. All right, let me get to one more here from Magnus Wyrod. That's a sweet name with $2. He says, this was by far their best offensive performance of the season overall, statistically speaking. 156 yards rushing, 10 yards per attempt in the passing game, only 2 punts, 5 goal-to-go possession. Anyone who puts this whole game on the offense as a whole is making us all dumber. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The offense as a whole was not at fault. I think we've done a good job at saying that, but just in case that wasn't clear.
I'm still going with the Houston game as their best overall performance.
Yeah, that one felt better, certainly.
Yeah.
Because there were fewer mistakes, but yeah.
I would argue moving the ball wise.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, if you want to say Houston was the best game, cool, got you. I still think that moving the ball wise, this is the blueprint for how, if you look at a Falcons game at the end of the day, like I said, 250 in the air, 150 on the ground. That's how you want it to look. So because that is what I think most of us expected, right? Like I know Dez, he threw for 300 in the Houston game, which is great. At the same time, I don't want to go into every week thinking and hoping Desmond Ridder has to throw for 300 plus for us to win a game. Again, I still think 230, 250 is that sweet spot for him. And then you're supposed to dance with the person that you brought with you, which is supposed to be the run game. So, yeah, if you can go 125, 150 on the ground, that's what it's supposed to look like. Again, it's just frustrating of the turnovers and where we had them.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't disagree with you there at all. Let's get to the positive. The defense, once again, defense came to play, played their asses off. It wasn't perfect, but, that's the thing with NFL defense that I think people don't realize is, every defense is going to give up frustrating plays. It's just the nature of the game. There's going to be a coverage bust. There's going to be a receiver just like that Mike Evans play. Shit's going to happen. You're going to miss a tackle, and a guy's going to get a big yardage. But what matters is how do you respond? At the end of the day, how many points do you allow? I don't care how ugly it looks or if you give up plays here and there or you miss some tackles. Did you keep them out of the end zone? Did you limit their yardage? Did you limit their ability to score points? And this defense has flying colors on that. It's not always beautiful. They've missed a lot of sacks. You can tell that the edge presence, not necessarily, that's the one weakness here. And there's another question about, potential trade moves to talk about. And you guys know who I'm going to talk about, but we'll save that until the end of the show. But they just get it done, Jordan. And I know you're excited about it, about one thing in particular, probably, which is Calais Campbell playing more snaps on the inside. I'm sure you noticed that in this game.
Well, I mean, look, he had a sack and a forced fumble this game. And honestly, I was going to go a different direction, but same group. Mm-hmm. And I know we've gone on him a good bit. First half, they're a little bit shaky. But there was one drive, I think it was mid-third quarter, where the second unit of the defensive line did a good job, especially on 3rd and 1. I know Caden Ellis came in to get the TFL. The reason why is because there was nowhere for Rachaad White to run the ball. Zach Harrison crashed in. He cuts off the B gap. Caden Ellis flies in as, the great linebacker that he is. So that was really impressive to me. I know we've talked so much about the depth on the back end, and very rightfully so. But what I like to see is, I saw that unit start to make some plays. You saw the fumble recovery up front. I saw Taquan Graham start to win a little bit more as well in this game. Yeah. And, and again, at the end of the day, if you can give some of those dudes that we have in that first group a couple more plays here or there, that's just going to be and mean so much more for this defense the rest of the way. And then also I want to shout out once again Nate Landman. You know, forcing the fumble. First off, look, if you're only about 155 pounds playing in the NFL, don't cut the ball back to the inside.
Just take your yards. Take your yards.
Don't do it. Take the yards and get down.
Yeah.
Look at what Tyler Lockett has done for years in Seattle. If you don't see anything there, just get down. But I'll take it in this regard, right? But then also, it was a 2nd and 17 play later on in the game where he was matched up against Chris Godwin. Now, if anyone wants to critique of like, hey, that should have been a hold, he tugged the shirt. Look, I don't know what is or what isn't.
They were calling so many weak ones in this one. Like, it's just
I don't know, but I will say the fact that as soon as Godwin made that catch, he couldn't separate from Nate Lamb and he was there to make the tackle was a huge play to me. And so again, just shout out to him. He's still doing a phenomenal job in the middle of this defense.
He's just savvy, man. Like, he is always in the right position. And it's some of those moves, like, I thought it was a hold, but you know what? He covered up nicely. And even the run game, I love the fact, and once again, not trying to throw on the pass, but him and Ellis, they take on blocks. They're crashing running lanes. There's nothing finesse about these guys. They're not the greatest athletes, but you know what? They're ready to bang. And like a 3rd down stop, but you mentioned, I thought Landman was a big part of that as well, along with Harrison and Ellis. Like, Nate Lamb, just every week, you can depend on him being at the right place at the right time. And just for him to get that punch out, which was like a vintage forced fumble, just beautiful to see. And man, he's just him and D Alford to me are like just 2 guys that anytime they make a play, you just have to smile because they just really emerge as consistent players. Like, you could put them on the field 50, 55 snaps a game and you could depend on them. They've proven it at this point.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, David Onyemata, again, just absolutely crushing it. It's like Grady Jarrett has been quieter, and I think people are like, oh, what's going on with him? Like, Grady Jarrett's eating all these double teams, and David Onyemata is just annihilating those single.
He had a great start, though, Grady Jarrett.
Yeah, he did. He's been playing well.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Another zip code.
Grady Jarrett's been playing well. Yeah.
Even when he gets his one-on-ones, I mean, good grief, that you want to call this holding, this ticky-tack, this ticky-tack, that.
Yeah.
There's 2 plays on one drive. Grady makes a great inside move on the rookie guard for Tampa. No holding call. Okay. Yep. I guess that makes sense. And then the other play, how in the world have you ever seen someone get their helmet taken off?
Yeah. It comes flying off
behind the offensive line, and there's not illegal hands to the face. I had never seen anything like that before. Where it's one of those things where, look, usually when you need to call holding, even if you missed the call, you didn't see it. What does an offensive lineman do?
Yep.
Hands up.
Right. Yep. That means it's a hold.
I didn't do it.
It's a hold. Yeah.
I would think that if a defensive lineman's helmet flies off the way it did, that would be a clear-cut sign of hands to the face. So how that doesn't get called, I just don't know. But again, it's Grady Jarrett and Raymond James Stadium. We've seen the story before.
We've seen the story too many times. It's frustrating as hell. But not to slander Grady Jarrett at all. He's having a good season. But those 2 together, it's like it's pick your poison. It's just like, if you're gonna double Grady, get ready for Onyemata to take your lunch. If you're gonna double Onyemata, then Grady's coming. So like, man, if they just had a great edge rusher, go ahead.
Do you think people may be saying this about Grady just because the defensive line, how collectively well they're playing? Because, like, to me, I thought this arguably might have been Calais Campbell's best game. LaCale London, I'm intrigued to see the film. I thought he popped up a few times just as his base here. Like, so they're getting good performances. And, like, Lorenzo Carter popped up a few times. Bud Dupree's getting a couple pressures. Like, I think the reason, and I'd like to hear your two guys' input on this, is just maybe Grady Jarrett's not getting quite the buzz. Is just because there's actually a defensive line to talk about now.
He's not the only player on the defense.
Right. 4 or 5 guys we can mention now. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. I think
you have no idea how happy it makes me.
Yeah,
you have no idea.
No,
it's great.
Yeah,
Tristan Wirfs that was so clean, and then damn Baker Mayfield just had a run for 20 yards. Like,
so the thing with that, and I'll get more into it. When we do trench talk. It wasn't that clean because he kind of spun like a top. It wasn't. So I remember I highlighted in the preseason, Arnold Ebiketie had a strip sack and fumble recovery in a spin move that he did against Miami. That's your perfect spin move where you're getting upfield. When you hit that spin, you're still full speed. Boom, you hit the quarterback. This one is like, I think Wirfs got enough of him. So when he spun, he still wasn't going full momentum. So then it's like he had to pick speed back up. And since he went inside and didn't win cleanly, that's what gave Baker that space outside. And the thing for me is that we know how much Baker Mayfield loves extend plays. He's done it ever since he was at Oklahoma. Keep him. I like quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield. Keep him in the pocket. Try to make him beat us because I really do. I really do think like he had some solid completions this game. I'd rather see him inside the pocket in that situation. Try to
let him throw. Like just keep the contain. Let him throw. Because like that. He's been making plays for the Bucs all year with his legs, and that was really the only one he made in this game, unfortunately for the Falcons. But that's really been, we've seen it. Like he's just kind of a middling passer at this point, and I don't think he played poorly in this game necessarily. It's just I think the Falcons defense did a great job. And you can't give up something like that on a 3rd and 9. Like you got to prevent that sort of play from happening. The coverage is deep. Trust your coverage to make the play. Like you're putting pressure on him. You don't have to be the hero. Just let him throw that ball. Like keep pushing Wirfs back. Let him throw that ball, and then if he tries to scramble, then you're in much better position. But yeah, when you turn your back to the quarterback like that and try to hit that spin after. It seemed like that was sort of like he hit the oh shit button, like I haven't won this rep yet. I need to hit this spin. And it's like, well, that's not the time to try to hit that spin. Like you need to just play it out at that point. But
I got too excited there. I just look cool, but I'm reliving it back.
It also just felt like the majority of the game plan this game was to keep Baker in the pocket, make him beat you there. Again, he leads the league the last few years in batted passes. So even if you don't get home, you'll be fine there. So that's where I was kind of confused. Well, not confused, but it was like, oh, if you're gonna do it, you better win it cleanly. And he couldn't. But I gotta head out here real quick. Appreciate you guys always for having me on. Everybody in the chat. Like I said, I'm watching y'all the whole time on my phone. So I'm like, don't think your comments are going unnoticed. We appreciate y'all. And I just had this one question though before I leave. At what point do you I think this is one spot that I know some people talked about. At what point do we move on from Mike Hughes, a punt returner?
Now, like UCF legend, okay? Like so that I'm giving him more credit than most, but he's not providing anything. Which is weird considering he was an amazing college returner. He has been bad in the NFL. I don't know what happened, but he just doesn't go for it. Maybe he's being coached to be really conservative, but I know they don't want to play I think D'Alford actually looks pretty good, but they don't want to play him there because he's actually starting on defense. So I don't know who else they would go to there. I know it looked like maybe they had a chance with Godwin Igwebuike, but he's elsewhere now. I don't know who else they have. I mean, Scotty Miller. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say Scotty Miller.
That's what I thought we were going to see more of when you brought Van Jefferson. Is like, all right, well, you're not going to use him on offense, so you might as well put him back there. And then, of course, here we go, 48-yard bomb to him, early on in the game. So
there you go.
I don't know. But anyway, y'all take care, man.
Yes, thanks, Jordan. We'll see you. See you soon on Trench Talk, guys. He is Big 75 fella. Thanks to Jordan for his contributions today. We're going to go a little bit longer just because we got a few more donations here.
Kevin, I wanted to mention quickly, he's kind of like the Dominique Franks 2.0 as a return. Remember when Dominique Franks was a return and he took
fair catch Franks.
Risk?
Yep. It just doesn't. It looks ugly, man. It just looks timid and it's not good. No one's gonna be Avery Williams, like NFL's arguably best punt returner, and I get that, but I think you could find somebody at this point. It's just not great. Let's just anything some speed at least. I don't know what's going on there, but it's not looking good. We got a couple more donations here. Thanks so much, guys. We got Justin Knight again. He says with the $2, realistic moves we should make by the deadline. You guys know what I'm going to say. Offer the Vikings a 2nd-round pick for Danielle Hunter. If someone offers a first, you let them do it. But if make an offer them a 2nd-round pick for Danielle Hunter, that would take this defense to a whole different level. He is the perfect piece. He is literally 28 years old. You have the money to pay him. And you're not getting a player as good as him in the draft. So take him, send a 2nd-round pick, see if you can get him, and just throw him into this defense and just watch what happens. So,
great.
Yeah.
Well, we got hope for it tomorrow night. Kyle Shanahan whips up one of those masterpieces of a game, 40-point burger. Tuesday morning, Minnesota, they're in full sell mode. Let's get the deal done by Wednesday.
Yeah, I wish they would have lost last week because then after that 49ers game, they would have had basically just it's time for fire sale. But yeah, we'll see. And it would be especially good because then they would lose Danielle Hunter for the game against the Falcons. So it would be like a plus minus thing where not only do we get Danielle Hunter, but we take him off the Vikings. So it's even better.
Yeah. The deadline's got sometime late October, right?
I think it's after this next game. I think it's like immediately following the next game. I think it's like right around. I think it's Halloween. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I would take. I would definitely go for Danielle Hunter. Is there anybody you would be interested in, Alan? Maybe it is Danielle Hunter.
Danielle Hunter's the guy. I know some people mentioned Frank Clark, but to me, Frank Clark's just Bud Dupree at this point. Like, kind of passes by, makes those. He might make an effort play here or there, but he's not winning one-on-one. Like, I'm enjoying Bud Dupree, but Bud Dupree at this point in his career is just a high motor guy, decent against the run, and he could bring something against overmatched tackles. But Frank Clark hasn't won in years, and like. I would have loved to see him get Randy Gregory because I think Gregory has promise, but what are you going to do? To me, at this point, if you're looking at teams that are going to sell, it's Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's most likely. I don't think anyone else really moves the needle. I mean, maybe if you could get Sweat or Chase Young, but like that's going to be way more expensive. I think Danielle Hunter's sort of the perfect match of like price point and fit. So
I also think the Commanders, they're kind of coaching for their jobs. Like,
yeah.
It's a bad look if I know.
I don't think they're going to. Yeah, so it's just and it'll probably take a first to get those guys. So I mean, I would rather go for the second with Hunter, and see if you can get that done. And if someone offers a first, then so be it. But at least put in an offer for that second because there's a chance you're getting a second for Ridley or you're getting a third for Ridley. So like even if you trade that second, you should have 2/3 at worst. So you've still got some day 2 picks.
You already know less need. First round pick. Time to go to work.
There you go. So that one, good question there though, Justin. Then we got Swampy with the $5 saying, do you think Okudah gets his new contract here or elsewhere next offseason? That one's really tough because AJ Terrell's also up at the same time. Now they have the money to pay 2 guys those contracts if they chose to do that. My instinct would be that they would probably let Okudah walk for a big contract if it was that big. It also depends on how he plays this season, but like he's got the injury history. He is young. He does have that draft pedigree. So it's not out of the question that if he plays great the rest of the season, someone comes with some like mega deal. But it's tough because you're going to have a lot of money next year. You're likely to be spending again. So you're probably not getting a comp hit back for Okudah. So, you're probably not really wanting to let him go if you can help it, but it also depends on how much his offers are. But again, like we'll have to see how it plays out over the rest of the season to know for sure. But he certainly could get a new contract here.
Could we talk about the second a little bit because I thought this was probably their top performance. And look, you're going against Evans and Godwin; they're going to make you look silly a few times. But I don't know how frustrating were those penalties? Because I think it ended up being like 5 penalties on the secondary.
Yeah,
what'd you make of it?
I mean, some of them were ticky-tack, some of them were legit. I mean, it's just like they were right to do it though. Like that's what I'll say. Like that's how you have to play Mike Evans. You can't let him get away with his bullshit. Like you can't. He's going to commit OPI constantly. He's going to be all up in your face. You have to play him like that too. And maybe you'll get called for it sometimes, but you have to do it, or else he's going to just dominate you both physically and mentally. Because he'll get away with it. The corner typically won't. So AJ Terrell had that big play given up early where it looked like he stumbled. It's unfortunate. And that was probably OPI as well. It looked like Evans hit him with the shoulder. So, like, I mean, again, he's going to get away with it most of the time because he's Mike Evans. But that's how you have to play him. And I thought they did not back down. They continued to play these guys physical. I think they had a really good game plan for Chris Godwin where they were passing him off over the middle to the linebackers sometimes. And Nate Landman had that great play to tackle him short of the first down. They really didn't let the Bucs take over the game with their passing, which that's what they have to do because their run game is just atrocious. The Falcons were basically giving them free runs up the middle with how they were playing on sometimes, and they were just like confident that like, yeah, we'll be able to make the tackle after 5 yards, and we're not afraid of your run game at all. It's kind of like the opposite to how teams play the Falcons. They're just like, Falcons are like, yeah, go ahead and try to run, Bucs. We don't care. Like, go for it.
No respect.
But yeah, and Jeff, I mean, you could see it. Like the corners were tackling super well on the outside. Okudah had like several great run stops. I thought this was probably Okudah's best game. And AJ Terrell bounced back from that bad play early on. And look, they didn't let these guys intimidate them, which is what Mike Evans wants to do. It's a mental game out there at corner. And I thought Terrell responded to that challenge very well. And like Richie Grant, UCF legend, that pick was absolutely critical to the outcome of this game. So shout out to Richie Grant for getting that one on the board.
Yeah, they were just resilient, like, because it was a rough start. But Terrell, because you got to look at the coverage stacks, because I think the 3 sacks, 2 of them were coverage sacks. Lorenzo Carr was definitely one, and Onyema was one. The only like real legit 1 sack was probably the one that Calais Campbell had. So you got to think they respond well. And I think the drive where Grant had the pick, Okudah had this clean pass breakup on Chris Godwin. Like, we're talking about high-level corner play. And then he had a great 2-string tackle on Rachaad White. I think he was trying to turn the quarter, and he held it to like a no gain. And Okudah is just a physical presence. And he's so long. Like, he's a joy to watch, and you could see
this is
why
what
he was
people were thinking. Yeah, like exactly.
He's reaching his potential now, and it's just like the secondary's going to take their lumps, especially against a team like Tampa. But I thought the second half, like, it showed why this defense was so dominant in the second half. It's just time and time again, whether it's pass breakups or keeping his guards. I thought Evans was pretty quiet in the second half. I don't recall him doing much. And the only big play Godwin had was on D. Alford. D. Alford stumbled, and look, that's just going to happen sometimes. So
D. Alford played well too. Jesse Bates. I thought Richie Grant had a pretty good game overall. Like, I mean, the secondary is playing super well. Like every one of those guys is playing great. And it's just, it just works. You know, it just works. Like, it comes together. It's like they don't have an elite finishing pass rush. Like, the edge pressure is not there consistently. They do have that great interior pressure that frequently is going to push the quarterback out, and the edge guys are typically good enough to like clean it up. But like, it's enough. Like, they're getting pressure, and that's enough to force slightly off throws, and then the secondary is good enough to shut that down, like to get the pass breakups, to keep guys from getting wide open most of the time. And nobody's perfect, right? I mean, Terrell and Mike Evans is Terrell's kryptonite. Like, he just works Terrell typically, which is why I was surprised that Okudah wasn't getting that matchup, because like, why is Okudah here if not to match up on these monstrous receivers given his size? But I get that they trust Terrell as their one and they want him to shadow the ones, and that's fine for the most part. It's literally just, you know, that one matchup has just been bad for Terrell. But
the thing is, he's got to be right next week, though, because like, you want to talk about guys that get away with OPIs, DeAndre Hopkins, he's the king at it. Like, you're going from Evans to Hopkins. Like, to me, those are the 2 savvy, big physical receivers, Evans and Hopkins. So
thankfully we might be getting Will Levis next week. So, you know, might not have to worry too much about that. We'll see.
Other thing I wanted to ask you, because we were talking about the just pressure in general before. Did you notice like a big change? Like, they came out hot in the first quarter with safety blitzes. You saw Jesse Bates, and that's how they got the stop on 4th down. I think Hallam's had a moment, like, they were blitzing heavy. And then you saw a lot of 3-man pressures, and then I just felt like they didn't really blitz much the rest of the game. What did you make of that?
I think they were trying to adjust to the Mike Evans deep play. They wanted to leave the safeties back to give additional help there. And so they cooled off on the blitz. I think they were sort of, my guess is they were saying our pressure is getting close enough that we don't need to take risks with the blitzes. I'm guessing if the Falcons got down at some point, they probably would have started to get more aggressive with the blitzing again to try to force something. But I think Nielsen just has so much faith in the secondary and so much faith in the front 4 to just get it done somehow. It's not necessarily going to be beautiful. It's not going to be this insane pressure, sack, beautiful stuff, but it's like they just have the coverage guys and they have the guys up front to make it really difficult. It's just like down to down. The Falcons defense is so good down to down. Like, you can get some plays, like you can find a coverage bust, you can get a deep throw in, but they're just so good down to down that they make you work for it. Like, literally, you have to work your ass off to score against this defense. And it's just, and you see, this is what happened against the Bucs. Like, they just sort of play what they need to do. They play what they need to play. They get what they need to get. And then they just wait for offenses to make mistakes. Like, and if you make a mistake against this defense, you're in big trouble because they're so hard to move the ball on, even if you're doing things correctly. And they took advantage, to their credit. So,
and with this run defense, they're gonna force teams into 2nd and 3rd and long. So that's another thing which plays into their hands. And I love what Nielsen does blitzing wise. It seems like they're relying more on the safeties and the linebackers ever since Troy Anderson went down. But you know, I'm sure Caden Ellis at some point will have his moments too. I thought I had a really good game. He's been a little quiet recently, but man, Caden Ellis made some big stops in the run game. games.
Yeah, getting that stability there at linebacker has been huge. Given the variance of Troy Anderson, I think it would have been even more significant. But now you've got Nate Landman in there, who's just been just as good, if not better, than Ellis, which is shocking. So it's just the linebacker duo has been great. It's really it's made weathering the loss of Troy Anderson a lot easier to handle, which is good because that one could have been catastrophic for a team that people thought didn't have any linebacker depth going into the season. Yeah. Thankfully, Nate Landman has made us all look silly on that take. So let me get Jason Gaines here with the $2. He says, according to the Elias Sports Bureau, Ridder is the first quarterback in 45 years to have 3 red zone fumbles and still win the game. So I'll take that dub, but Ridder definitely needs to clean up the turnovers. He leads the league with 12 on the season. That is correct. He does. We got Gary Stafford with the $5. Thanks, Gary. He says, this team seems close to putting it all together. I know it's hard to be patient, but this is how it goes when you transform from bad to good with a lot of young players. Yes, that does happen. Like that's what we were saying sort of earlier in the show is like we're getting the growing pains now, and I feel like we could have gotten them towards the end of last season instead, but they chose to try to go all out and win with Marcus Mariota, which was doomed, and it didn't work out, and now we're having to deal with it this year, but hopefully it'll be okay. They're 4-3 heading into week 8. They're first place in the division. You know, it's sort of like, look, it's been ugly, it's been tough, but you're first place in the division. So if they can just start playing well now, it's sort of no harm, no foul, because it's like, well, we still got plenty of time. We're in first place right now. All we got to do is take care of business. They don't have to make up ground. So they've been fortunate that nobody else in this division has played well. So
yeah. And they got some favorable games coming up. So yes. Hopefully this is when we see the offense really kick into stride, because you look at you mentioned the next 3 games. You really can ask for much better games.
You should expect 2-1 at least, I would think. So,
yeah.
And like, honestly, probably 3-0, but it's tough to win on the road in the NFL. They do have 2 road games. So like probably 2-1 is the most realistic, but you know.
Yeah. And it's it's the homecoming. It's a very fascinating matchup next week, head coaching wise. And look, say we want about the Titans, but Mike Vrabel's going to bring it. And I thought Ridder really helped, which you want to give Ridder another credit here. Going against Todd Bowles' defense, it's no easy test. And I thought he handled the pressure really well at times.
He did.
Because he's going to be ready. He has to go against Vrabel's defense next week. But there's reasons to be optimistic. We know that. By the way, I don't know if we just keep him at such a high standard, but there has not been one mention for Younghoe Koo. I know he's legend.
With some respect.
We expect him the next, but damn it, man, there was a time period not too long ago. People are questioning if he's still at the upper echelon. He made that 51-yard kick.
Yeah.
No doubts about it, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just
another one.
I just know he's so good, Alan. So I don't even. He just doesn't even need the praise because he just knows. But no, absolutely. Like Younghoe Koo, elite game. Just like that's what I'm saying. Like that was one thing that I sort of came to during the game, which was like, look, I know this will probably be the last point too, because I know we've been here for a while, guys. So we want to respect your time too. But like Arthur Smith wants us to be a super aggressive offense. They want to go for it on 4th down when they're in plus territory. They want to go for it on 4th and goal, that sort of thing. But I'm just wondering, like, given how good the defense is, and given how good the kicker is, and given how close some of these games have been, I almost start to wonder if, like, just kick the field goals. Like, because your defense is so good. Just whittle the team down, chip away 3 points. Like, if they had just kicked a field goal in this game, they would have won, like, 26-13. Like, or 23-13 or something like that. Like, they would have had, like, 9 more points just from taking the field goal. Now that's ridiculous, obviously, but
yeah. Remember, there's a 4th and 1 and they kicked the field goal, and some people were pissed. And it's like
it was critical.
Running on Vita Vea and all of them. I'm just like, let's go. Because look, I thought they ran the ball well, but it's just a short yard situation. You got Vita Vea there. Vita Vea is the most mammoth human being in the league. We know how much of a wrecker he is. So take the 3 points.
Yeah, and
I know we hate being conservative, but at that point, do it.
It's like they may just need to do that. Like, until this offense can get its shit together and stop screwing up all the time, like, especially in the red zone, like, just take the points. Like, take the points, because this defense is so good. Like, if you can just start stacking field goals, that is probably going to win the game most of the time, especially against some of these teams you're about to come up against that are just really not very good. Like, the Titans, like if they're starting Will Levis, like just take the field goals. Like you don't need to score in the red zone every time against this Titans team to beat Will Levis. Just start stack those field goals, stack up the points wherever you can, and just put them behind the 8 ball and grind it out. And this is a grinded out team this year. This is, at this point, I don't think this is a high flying, 30 plus point a game offense. Maybe there's a chance we get there by the time the season's over, but like at this point, you grind it out, you take those field goals, and you're happy if you come away with a 16-13 win.
I slightly disagree just because they're producing more explosive plays through the air. Yeah. And it's just like we talk about, if they just did not turn the ball over in the red zone, this team could be scoring high points because like you look at the Scotty Miller play, a couple of the Kyle Pitts moments, Drake London's getting into a rhythm now every week. Like that's another thing. Like it's great to see. You just, after how hopeless they looked at the times against the Lions and Jaguars, it's like, all right, Drake London, we're going to get between 50, 70 yards, maybe 100 yards a week now. Kyle Pitts, he'll get around 56. It's just good that just the passing game, there's chunk plays be made there, which it just was not there a couple weeks ago. So
yeah,
that's why I think we should have higher expectations for them.
We should.
Been a grinded out team. It's just red zone efficiency, man.
So they better fix it. And Arthur Smith's not going to change his philosophy, and he shouldn't because I'm bitching at him. But like, man, it's like you got to get to the point where it's like we shouldn't be saying like, oh, if we just kick field goals, we would score more points. Like, because all you got to do is just score one touchdown, and then you're covering for multiple field goal attempts. So like, just get it done. Fix it, get it done, please.
If you watch the replay of this game, which I know we both will, and a lot of people like that. Like their Ridder throw on third down to London, and he's hit that back shoulder throw numerous times. Yeah. Like he just did not place the ball well down. He put it ahead of London, and you just give him the DB a chance. If he just puts it slightly to the shoulder, it's like London has that massive frame. He knows how to make contested catches. Easy touchdown. It's just those types of moments where you're just like,
Yeah, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating stuff there, but yeah, they're close. So that's what I felt coming into this game, that they were close, and I don't know that I would say they took another step, but at least the offense is like functional week to week now, which is not what we could say in weeks 3 and 4. They've been stringing together drives. They've been getting into the red zone. They've been doing what they need to do. And once again today, the Falcons offense puts up over 400 yards for the third straight game, I believe. So, that's not a fluke. Like they are moving the ball. Now they need to start scoring goddamn points. Like, please, for the love of God, can we get some goddamn points? But before we sign off, guys, do you want to bring you a quick check-in on my prize picks this week, which unfortunately not so great, mostly because Bijan Robinson just completely hosed us because he got that carry. So prize picks actually would have invalidated the Bijan one if he didn't get any sort of like carries. But because he took that one stupid carry or catch or whatever the hell it was, they had to play him. So that ruined it. We would have gotten 2/3 of the thing if that had not been the case. But we did nail the other two. Younghoe Koo over 6.5 kicking points, or more than, 6.5 kicking points. He had 7 with his field goals. That one at the end got us home, of course. I think that he actually had more because of that, so that's great. And then I had Rachaad White under 48.5 rushing yards. He was nowhere close. I think he had 30-something. So, less than 48.5 rushing yards. So, Arthur Smith's Bijan Robinson usage really screwed us there, as usual. But appreciate Prize Picks for sponsoring the show, guys. Just in case you're not aware, Prize Picks is a skill-based daily fantasy game. You can pick up to 2 to 6 players and decide if they will go more or less than their prize picks projection. The more you pick, the more you can win, all the way up to 25 times your money on any entry. And at Prize Picks, unlike other daily fantasy, you aren't competing against other players. It's just you versus the projections. Prize Picks also has a generous promotion schedule. Right now, they're running a pretty good one. If you're an NBA fan, they're doing a Steph Curry over half a point, or more than half a point, or whatever the phrasing is on Prize Picks. I believe it's more than. So you can take that as basically a free square, because I think we all know Steph Curry's getting more than half a point in his debut. So you can take that, add that to any of your other prize picks as basically just a free square to help multiply your potential winnings. Keep an eye on that. Like I said, not just NFL, they're doing NBA as that starts up, MLB, college football, basketball, all that good stuff. And the best part, prize picks entries can be made within 60 seconds or less, and they offer fast withdrawals. It's that easy. Just make sure if you're signing up for the first time to use our promo code DBB. that will get you a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That means if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will match and give you another $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Just make sure to use that promo code DBB. And thanks again to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. So, Alan, any final takes before we sign off on today's show?
I think we dissected everything. Like, I'm happy we did like a full breakdown. I think there's a lot to be thrilled about with this team. It's just, just got
they make it hard. Yeah,
they make it hard, but I think there's a lot to be encouraged by. And hopefully these next 3 games, like, this is the real favorable stretch. Hopefully this team just starts hanging stride, because if you could take any sort of inspiration from other teams, obviously we didn't watch the game, but if you saw Twitter and saw the scoreboard, for weeks now, the Ravens have they've kind of beat themselves. Like, you look at the Steelers game, you look at what's the other bad loss they had? The Colts game, like, they've beat themselves, and offensively they just had bad mistakes, drops, turnovers at the worst periods of times. You hope, and now today, they put it all together against a really good Lions team. You hope the Falcons maybe could take some things from the Ravens where it's just like, okay, there's clear promise here. There's clear productivity. Can we just play a mistake-free game? Like, the Falcons have not played a mistake-free game all season. Oh, yeah. Sorry. But no, against the Texans, they made a mistake.
They did. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Bijan fumble.
Yeah, like, that's true.
And
that's true.
Other than Carolina, but I thought there was pass protection breakdowns. Like, besides that, every game this year, they've made crucial errors. So there's going to come a point. There's just got to be a point where they're going to play a clean game and they're going to put up over 30 points, and we're just going to enjoy it. And look, defense, they've set the blueprint. Like, it's a beautiful thing, man. Be appreciative of what we're watching. Like, after years of just hoping, now it's just like they set a standard where you expect them, they're going to bring it. And you just got to marvel at it, man. Like, I can't get enough of Calais Campbell. He's like my like, every week there's a new defensive player. I'm like, oh, I love watching him play. Like, Calais Campbell, obviously he's a legend, but just to see what he's doing at his age and just against the run, like, you learn to appreciate edge defending when you watch Calais Campbell. So
yeah. No, and I really like that they're getting him more pass rushing opportunities on the inside, because look, we all love Calais Campbell. Like, I'm not gonna tell him he can't play on the edge. Like, that's not for me to do. Like, I'm not gonna. You try walking up to Calais Campbell and telling him he can't do something. But as a pass rusher, he's still good as an interior pass rusher. Like, as an edge rusher, he's a great run defender. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's asking a lot to expect him to cover a lot of ground out there like that. On the interior, still a really good pass rusher, and I think that's where he should be deployed more in those third down situations. But love Calais Campbell. Really happy we have him, of course. We got Hal Snipes the second with $2 donation. Thank you, Hal. He says, would you consider signing Ben Jones or Lyle Collins? At this point, I think Ben Jones is like more or less retired. I don't think he wants to play. I like, you're telling me the Giants haven't tried to sign Ben Jones. Like, I don't believe it. Like, I believe they've tried. I don't think he's interested in playing. Yeah, and then Lyle Collins, I don't know. I don't think the Falcons are interested. He's asking for a lot of money. If he wasn't asking for a lot of money, someone would have signed him already, but he's asking for big money, which is a bold choice considering it's the middle of the season. So I think there's a decent chance Lyle Collins doesn't sign and just tries to cash in free agency, because teams just don't have a lot of money right now. They don't have a lot of flexibility without moving money around, doing contract restructures, that sort of stuff. So I don't see it, but do you think they make any of those moves, Alan?
No, I think that'd be unnecessary. Look, for criticism, we have Cale McGarry. I think McGarry's starting to play better the last few games. Yeah,
I think so. And then we got one final one. Please no more, guys, because we're trying to sign off. If you do one now, we'll have to get to it on the next show. I apologize, but which is a nice problem to have. Thank you for that. But just letting you guys know, we got Craig Thomas with the $5. Thank you, Craig. He says, do you think Falcons fans are harder on Ridder because he was a third-round pick? Seems like he has... Goddamn George, he just puts one in just right after I say that. Wow. Seems like Ridder has a shorter leash with fans than anyone else on the team. I think that's part of it. Like, if he was a first-round pick, people would sort of be like, well, he has to play. He's our first-round pick. We have to see. I think since he's a third-round pick, people are like, oh, well, we could just move on. It's no big deal. But, I mean, and there's something to that, right? Like, they're not as committed to him as they would be if he was a first-rounder. But, his draft stock has led to a lot of takes. And it will continue to do so. So And it's up to him to change the narrative there.
I think it's a valid point. I just think when you're turning the ball over,
yeah,
the fan base is going to turn on you. Like even before the game against the Jaguars, like we saw those turnover-worthy plays. If you were watching the Falcons during the season, particularly that Packers game, there were very concerning signs. Like you saw red flags, and now the past month outside the Houston game, it's culminated into a disaster. So while I do think the draft stock has played a factor, it's just, look, you can't expect people be behind you when you're turning the ball over this frequently. It's simple as that.
Yeah, and like, look, like Ridder's gonna have to clean it up, but like this is his audition for the future, and like everyone is hoping that he works out, myself included. I'm sure Alan's wanting it to work out. If you're not wanting Ridder to work out, you're a fool. You're an imbecile, because
you don't want the Falcons in the playoffs then.
Yeah,
like you don't want to see good football.
But like, I don't understand why you'd be rooting against Ridder for any reason, because if Ridder works out, you get a starting quarterback on a 3rd round contract for another couple years, which is fantastic. You've solved your biggest issue, which was the quarterback position. And like why would you not want it to work out? Like, if you don't think it's going to work out, that's different. But if you're just like rooting against Ridder, come on, man. Like, why would you not want this to work out? This would be the best case scenario if it could work out. And the jury's very much still out. Like, absolutely. We're not really, I don't think we're any closer to knowing if Ridder can do it or not. Right now, he's in that sort of like bucket of like, well, he's making plays, but he's also turning the ball over at an absurd rate. So like, that's also not going to work. It's a different flavor of not working that at least is more fun than being completely inept on offense and turning the ball over. But yeah, I mean, we should be hoping it. We should be hoping for Ridder to hit the ground running here. And yes, I do think that people are more harsh on him because he's their round pick. But, you know, he's also deserving of some criticism. So it is what it is. Then we got, okay, this is the last one, though, just because George is George. But George with the $2 says, I'm calling it now. Brock Bowers is the picks next year. Let's get the Bowers train started. Choo-choo. No, George, no, we're not doing this again. Like, no more tight ends, okay? We've got enough. We've got all the tight ends we need. We got Jonnu and Pitts, okay? We're set. We're set at tight end.
Damn Georgia, man. Like, leave us alone, Georgia.
Yeah, you want to invite that chaos in now? Like, just even more chaos there. But, yeah. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's show was, of course, brought to you by BetOnline and Prize Picks. Appreciate everyone for hanging out and enduring this very difficult, very ugly win. But it is a win. It's a critical one.
A massive one.
Yeah, it's big for the division. We're obviously going to talk more about those implications as the week goes on thefalcoholic.com and elsewhere. Before we sign off, I want to thank, of course, my co-host tonight, Alan Strk, at Alan Strk, for his contributions. Alan, anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
Got a lot of content prepared for this weekend. We're in full force right now. It's exciting times ahead.
Absolutely. Lots of stuff coming, guys. I'm Kevin Knight at Falcoholic. Kevin, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Really helps us out. Appreciate that. If you're listening to the podcast audio, please leave us that 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice. Check out the Patreon if you want those exclusive patron perks, patreon.com/Falcoholic Live, and check out our community Discord server, the link to which is in the show description. Guys, thank you so much for enduring this team with us for one more week. We will be back, of course, early next week for the next episode of Trench Talk featuring Jordan Watkins. He was here today as well. Dive into the trenches a little bit more on this one. And then, of course, we'll be back on Wednesday night for the next Falcoholic Live. Until then, folks, thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time on the Falcoholic Live.